Okay, hello everyone. Today we will talk about the digital revolution in manufacturing, and we will do this through the lens of the automotive industry, which is being completely transformed at the moment. And to help me explore this topic, I am joined today by Aniello Pepe, who is the Global Director of Automotive in the Oracle Industry Strategy Group. So nice to have you with us.
Hello, Bernard. It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, lovely.
Uh, nice.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm now in Italy, in Torino, where I live. Turin, as you know, is historically at the heart of the automotive industry in Italy. So it is the home of Fiat. Lancia has been founded here, and Iveco, Pininfarina, Eta Design, and there is a large ecosystem of specialized suppliers. And today, Turin is also one of the main poles of Stellantis, the new company born from the merging of Fiat Chrysler and Peugeot. So I think it is a good observation point for the auto market today.
Very good. The beautiful North Italian place, lovely. So what
Between Milan and the French border, yes, in between.
exactly? So what do you do for Oracle?
In my role as part of the Oracle Industry Strategy Group, I support the definition of our vision, strategy, and positioning for the automotive industry, orchestrating the initiatives of the different part of our organization around automotive. Oracle has matured a very strong and effective orientation by industry, and automotive and industrial manufacturing in general are among the most important ones for us.
Very good. And as always, we are doing these sessions for all of you joining us, listening in. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask about the transformation in the automotive industry today, feel free to put this into the chat. Um, Also, it is always really good to know and learn where you are from. So if you are joining us from different places around the world, please say hello. This makes it a lot more interesting for us to see where you all are joining us from. So, automotive is today a really exciting paradigm of, I guess, this broader transformation, or rather a revolution of the entire manufacturing industry. And in fact, the automotive industry is really changing everything. The product is changing, or we get things like the move towards electrifying the cars, and becoming more digital with connected, hopefully at some point, autonomous cars. The supplier network is changing, where suddenly they need to bring in many more electronics. They need to sort and source and build batteries instead of combustion engines. And the production environment is also changing, where we now have huge movements in terms of Industry 4.0. And I guess finally, we as consumers and customers are changing too. We are much less likely to own a car. There's a big movement towards subscription models, where people don't really buy a car, but they subscribe to it, potentially car sharing. So lots of things are happening. What is your overall assessment then of maybe the manufacturing industry as a whole and the automotive industry more specifically? What are some of the main challenges and shifts that you are seeing that companies are need to tackle today?
You're right. Automotive industry is an exciting place today because no other manufacturing industry is going through such challenges altogether. As you're saying, the product is changing, completely changing, because we are talking about changing basic historical components, the internal combustion engine, moving to the electrification. And it's a product that we're becoming more digital in that sense. So the software, the content in software, the content in electronics is growing. That implies that the suppliers are changing. So there are new suppliers. They are because they can provide new components. So there are new areas for suppliers. So batteries, for instance, and the building of gigafactories for building batteries for electric vehicles. The electronics around that. The production environment is to be updated to consider the change in the product and the supply chain, but also is changing due to the needs to be more effective. We all know that there is an overcapacity in the current automotive production environment. So, as you say, Industry 4.0 is a key for this industry. And also customers are changing. So there is something which is really impacting everything. So the way or the vehicle are conceived, how they are designed, tested, produced, how they are sold, which are the new ownership trends, but also the fact that the people is relying also new financial model for buying a car or using a full leasing or whatever, and even served at the end. I think, in any case, that other industries, including industrial manufacturing, heavy equipment, high tech, or consumer electronics, appliance, and so on, should carefully look at the ongoing transformations in the automotive industry. And they can learn for it, simply because the automotive industry is anticipating, in my opinion, trends that those industries will face soon and sometimes are already facing.
Yeah, I completely agree with I completely agree with you there. So let's look at some of those challenges in a bit more detail. Starting with the product that is obviously changing. What do you see as some of the main implications here?
We said the vehicle is going to be a completely different product. Electrification is obvious, so different components and so on. But for me, the main transformation under the hood is the digitalization of the product and the new fundamental role that software and electronics will play for the vehicle. Today, more than 50% of the value of a vehicle is related to electronics and software. So the vehicles as connected devices with increasingly complex other systems for supporting drivers towards full autonomy are now becoming edge nodes of a wider cloud platform. And vehicles are a source of an incredible amount of data. Now, for automotive OEMs now, the challenge is to be, let's say, they want to just be the maker of a kind of a shell that others, possibly tech companies, will equip with the needed electronics, software, intelligence, or do they want to drive and manage that transformation? That is the challenge for automotive OEMs. All automotive OEMs today are claiming that they want to become tech players and that their products will be more computers on wheels with the predominant software contents. But their clear ambition is to become mobility providers in a context of digitalization of mobility service. And just to make a few examples, Bernard, the Volkswagen Group. Volkswagen Group has created Cariad in 2020. Cariad is the automotive software company of the group with the goal of building a unified technology, software platform, including a vehicle operating system, vehicle cloud platform, and new architecture for all the Volkswagen Group's brand. Currently, just 10% of software code in Volkswagen is written in-house, and Cariad aims to increase the proportion of in-house software by to 60% in 2025. Same trend are for others. We can mention Renault. Renault's launched the concept of Renaulution, so a complete transformation that, in the words of Luca De Meo, which has been appointed as the new CEO of Renault in July 2020, will move Renault from a company working on tech to a tech company working with cars, making at least 20% of their revenues from services, from data, and interesting from energy trading by 2030. And the same things are saying Carlo Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, in the recent investor days and so on. Interesting is the fact that most automobile companies have appointed a top executive for the role of chief software officer or similar to manage this initiative. And it is notable that the traditional IT is not part of that transformation, or is just marginally involved. That's something new, and I guess also the traditional IT need to find a way to be more visible in this initiative. And if we want to say which is the main implication of the transformation of the product in a software and electronics major content in that, I see three main things. The first one is the need to manage software at scale for this company. So they have to manage a potential huge number of field devices, the vehicle running on roads, and they need to be able, OEMs, I mean, to scale quickly under a tight security, privacy concern, in different regions with different regulations. So there is the need to have a specialized cloud platform to manage these software at scale. And the second point is to approach a different product life cycle. So without the connectivity and so on, it was usually a sell and forget approach. No, it's no longer possible. Software fixes requires sophisticated and frequent over-the-air updates. Now, OEMs are also proposing software-enabled features. So to enable additional features in car, which are already supported by the existing sensor, but that can be enabled after the car has been bought by a customer. So something that could also, let's say, sold through subscription. So that can have an impact on sales of models. And there are therefore consolidated business processes that are to be reviewed. And finally, there is the need for them to reorganize themselves and have new skills. So they are reshaping their organization because they need to build a large internal software factory. So they have to change the internal skill mix that is now more oriented to mechanical engineers rather than to electronics and software engineers. So that is a transformation in scale that requires them to adopt software tools, processes, methodologies, a large scale, something with specific knowledge. And let's say, by the way, these move towards, let's say, managing software scale on cloud, complex development, and so on, are exactly the type of problems that hyperscale cloud providers have already faced. So cloud vendors like us, like Oracle, I think can definitely partner with OEMs to provide the support on these large-scale cloud platform that they need. For us, for instance, is a strong point for our cloud infrastructure, for our cloud high performance computing, and all the things that we have: data collection, ingestion, storage, analytics, for the DevOps that they need to develop products, and for the support to open source and other cloud service. So that's why they say there is for the automotive companies, they need to partner with companies, tech players like us that are not, by the way, competitors like other tech players could be, in order to join effort in this industry.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
agree.
Bernard, for this long
No, huge
answer.
challenges of,
A lot of
yeah,
things to say about it.
cars becoming completely digital, software becoming a key differentiator, new and much faster innovation cycles. I very much agree. I'm just having a quick look through the stream, just saying people are saying hello, which is good. So we've got Dr. Hal saying hello from California. We have Winnie saying hello from Malaysia. We have Jose from Nicaragua. We've got Ahmad from Pakistan. We've got Matthew from Illinois in the US, and we've got Rafal from Scotland. So really good to see you all here. Mike has
Really,
just Mike has just asked. Mike is joining from Cornwall. Hi, Mike. Really good to see you again. And he's asking about with digitization comes AI. Do you think AI will play a big role in the production through autonomy? I think this is something that we'll come back to when we talk about.
sure.
Do you want to respond to this right now?
We will go through that, I guess,
Yeah,
but let's say I definitely think it is a basic stuff in all things that are related to the digitalization of production, on the vehicle itself, the manages sold and served to. So a lot to say about the role of AI in all business processes in automotive.
very good. So the other thing that is changing and is being completely transformed at the moment is the supply network. What does that mean in practice? What do you see as the key challenges here, and how do they need to be addressed?
Of course, automotive suppliers are fully impacted by this transformation. So think to the fact that electrification requires completely new components. making obsolete the traditional components for internal combustion engines,
Mm.
or let's say the increasingly contents in software electronics in virtual and automotive subsystem need to change their components. But suppliers, on top of that, have also to face the challenge of supporting the existing offering. So, for instance, the combustion engine, where they are still producing cars with the classical combustion engine. So, and while at the same time they have to move to design and address the production of the new components. So that implies a significant investment in a context for suppliers where the margins are always under pressure. And in some cases, as also this situation has also lowered the entry barrier for new competitors. So there are other players, for instance, tech players, or let's say companies who used to work in the electronics, appliance and so on, that could be a player now producing components for the automotive industry. So it can be a war for survival for suppliers now. But on the other side, automotive OEMs that were used historically to apply their strong contractual power on their suppliers, now they have understood how critical their suppliers are for their business. So just think to the disruption that has been created by the pandemic in the automotive supply chain, and or think to the recent crisis due to the shortage in microchips. So car makers are ready now, I think, that's my opinion, ready for a new relationship and for a more collaborative attitude with the suppliers, or at least with a selected number of them, those that can follow them in the transformational path. So that can be obtained with a tighter connection between OEMs and suppliers' business processes. So streamlining operation in order to anticipate issues in a win-win approach. That's something that we are addressing, by the way. We as Oracle are developing a specific industry solution for automotive suppliers to better manage exactly that, the business processes under this new relationship.
Very good. And then we have the transformation of the entire production environment. I was just looking at a manufacturer of delivery vans and buses here in the UK. And what is interesting is that they are now completely reimagining the manufacturing process. So this is a company called Arrivals, and they have
Mhm.
completely redesigned the product. So they use completely different components on the outside that is not metal or aluminium, and they've also reimagined the entire manufacturing process of it. And what they have created is this ability to create these little micro factories, a factory that you can set up in less than 6 months and start manufacturing their products, which is so against what we are used to when we have these mega factories in Turin and in in different parts of Germany and the US where we manufacture cars. So and then obviously we have all the automation coming in, the robotics and so on. So what are auto companies what are auto companies responding to in this when it comes to the
Yeah.
challenge of really transforming their production?
You are mentioning a number of interesting trends, the micro factories, that's very interesting, and also the role that can have also 3D printing, additive manufacturing that. So there is a lot of transformation in that. It can be used in manufacturing, but also in producing spare parts, to producing small lots of things which can be interesting in a given country and so on. But if we look at the overall picture, so I have in mind large car makers, they are really investing billions now in modernizing all their plants, and they're building new ones. No? So there is an impact in those huge investments in an industry that, by the way, has already, as we said, an overall production overcapacity. You know? So the main problem for them is to manage the, let's say, the change, the investment, and so on, uh, being addressing productivity and efficiency in a better way. So the main trend is about the adoption of the principle of the Industry 4.0. That is something, by the way, which has been driven it's designed by the automotive industry. And mainly, if we want to see that in a, let's say, very high level, there are three main aspects. So let's say understand what is happening in the plant is important at real time or near real time. That means equipping the plant with all sensor, with industrial IoT architecture, and so on. And in that way, you get a large volumes of data that are collected from the production. Then the second point is analyze those data. So there is the need to make intelligent correlation. So here the role of artificial intelligence, as we were saying before, responding to the question, and to make inferences about large amounts of data that, let's say, just to be not able to react, but to anticipate intervention. And then the other point is that is not just analyzing, but be able to make actionable decisions. So have a clear, intelligent recommendation, maybe also automatic actions that are delivered to activate the proper action in field. So we in Oracle are insisting on a concept that we call the digital connected enterprise, where all business processes, not only manufacturing as we are talking now, but also design and engineering, supply chain, logistics, service and support are digitalized and therefore can be connected by a digital thread. That is, the information flow can be exchanged and flow between all processes, and each of them can benefit from information coming from other processes, as well as from the context. So they can take into account the voice of the customer, the voice of the plant, the voice of the vehicle, the voice of the digital twins for vehicle and keeper and so on. But interesting, all these transformation, that's correct what you're saying, are not applying just to large OEMs, but also to suppliers of any size. I can mention an example of, let's say, medium-sized company, a customer of ours, Alcar. Alcar is a Swiss company producing steel wheels. So they are a company with the Swiss cost, is a Swiss company, and they are competing in a globalized scenario. And for them, the challenge, of course, is efficiency and productivity. No? And we supported them in their move to the cloud of roughly 90% of their business application. And they have also adopted our intelligent IoT application that embed artificial intelligence capability to connect, measure, and drive their technological production environment. So that was a way for them to be able to react at real time, anticipate things, and to get those level of efficiency and productivity that we need.
Very good. And then lots of the things we're talking about here have data at the base of all of this. And so data is this new fuel in so many industries that is enabling organizations to digitize their products, digitize their manufacturing, and so on. There's an interesting question here from someone from on LinkedIn saying, can this industry benefit from, or could this benefit from data marketplaces where you can exchange information on product cost, pricing, availability, and so on, and other data sources and so on? What's your view on that?
That's definitely true. So it's no longer a place for data silos in the
Mhm.
industry. So everything now is important for all business processes. So for instance, information coming from marketplace, information coming from social media, information coming from different sources can influence, for instance, the design of one products, can influence the planning, for instance, in the manufacturing, or can influence the way I have to serve a given customer and so on. So all information, whatever is the source, are, let's say, an asset that they have to use. It could be third party, could be second party due to the collaboration with others that can exchange information, can even be third party data coming from marketplace or data that can be bought for different sources. Paying attention, of course, to the privacy concern about everything which is related to third-party data. But let's say it's something that I see in any business process. That's definitely true.
Very good. And then the final element that's changing is consumers. How is this impacting auto manufacturers? What changes is this driving that we are looking? I guess cars in the future will become very different. In cities, we'll become less reliant on normal cars because we have more public transport, but there will always be a need for more personalized driving. But those cars might be shared, they would be pooled, they would be rented, there will be subscription models. So how is this driving change in the industry?
That's an essential part of the change of the industry, and that's is why most, virtually any car makers is addressing a transformation towards a mobility player. So mobility in the
Mm.
sense they want to provide the mobility capability rather than selling a car to a customer, no, in that sense. So that's exactly true. It has a combination of different aspects. So it's not only the car, but could be the way I own or a car, the way I share the car, the way I use all the transportation means, where I am in terms of, let's say, the environment, the context, and so on. But let me say, Bernard, that mobility is important, but there are still the market for, let's say, the personal ownership of a car. No? And that's something that is still there. And even when we talk about traditional customers, also the way these customers interact and can be reached are to be managed by OEMs is really changing. You know? So, and that has an impact on the automotive industry today. So just to make an example, traditionally relationship of the car makers with the customer were to have, let's say, were limited to marketing and advertising to attract customer. Then the actual sales were managed by dealer, and then the customer service interaction to retain customer was through call center or support center. Now, car makers have multiple additional touch points with prospect and customers when at home or as drivers. So, for instance, we all know that people, especially the young generation, are more keen to make searches on the web when they have to buy a new car, use social networks to get suggestions, and they reduce or even avoid to visit a showroom. So there is also an impact of the dealerships and the network of dealers. So, and they need to consider their interest, and their interest is shaping their choices. For instance, the environmental consciousness, or the life cycle, or style, or the sports that they do, and so on. So, and also we are saying ownership models are changing. So it's not just car sharing or mobility, but also with increasing adoption of personal full leasing option, or even let's say ownership by subscription, uh, or having subscription for additional services. And the connectivity option increased the change for more frequent interaction with riders. For instance, to propose special services like the activation of software-enabled capabilities on the fly, or even for third-party service providers. So for instance, offering parking booking or car washing at the parking place, anything that the creativity can imagine.
Mm.
So all that is impacting not only automakers, but also the dealers and the relationship between OEMs and dealers, no? As well as other players like leasing, rental companies, service providers, and so on. So all these players need to have the best usage of all the existing media and all the available data. And that is an exciting scenario for a company like us that can support customers in that journey. If you want, Bernard, I can make a few examples of
Mm.
that. So, for instance, we work with Ferrari for the new system to interact with customers and dealers, leveraging all the available information to streamline interaction and improve the sales cycle. So it is a benefit for the dealer and at the same time is a way to improve for Ferrari the direct connection with their customer. So that's a win-win approach.
Mm.
For instance, suggesting through all the information that are available and combining in an intelligent way, the next best sales action or the next best support actions to dealer. At the same time, we work with Mazda Europe, to unify all the information that they have about prospect, anonymous or known, and existing customer, about their digital behavior, what they're looking for, any available data, to make intelligent inferences and provide a recommendation about the next best marketing action, with a goal to reduce, of course, advertising costs to be more focused and to optimize the performance of the company, the campaigns, also marketing campaigns. Another example is Carvana. Carvana is a leading online car dealer in US. People in US may know them because they are also known for their multi-store car vending machine. You know? And they are using our solution and technology with the support of our partners to modernize the business processes which are behind that. Another example, and the final one, Bernard, is something strange. So Red Bull raising Honda. So as you know, there is a partnership between the Red Bull F1 race team and Oracle, because Red Bull has adopted the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure as the official cloud platform, applying Oracle machine learning, data analytics to improve the way they use all the available data to improve performances. But the collaboration is also about improving the experience of customers and to improve the involvement of the Red Bull fans worldwide. And that is an interesting use case. So looking at fans, looking at engaging people, and that is a use case that can be extended into other car makers in their social activities.
Yeah, absolutely. They're great use cases. Yeah. Ferrari, Red Bull, great. um, I guess when you look at this entire manufacturing landscape, there are not many other parts of that industry that going through the same extent of changes and challenges all at the same time. Um, that's impacting the way vehicles are conceived, designed, tested, produced, sold, and serviced. So, what are the impacts on these various areas that you see?
Let's say from the digital design to the industry 4.0 and to the connected cars, customer experience, and so on, uh, there is a common trend between all these things that is towards digitalization, data collection, analysis of data and activation, the need to be agile and to provide continuous innovation in this process. I think that all that is to, by the way, all that is to be done at a global scale for virtually all automotive players. So they have to play that in different regions, in different countries, maybe with each country with a different context of regulations and constraints. So I think that the, let's say, the impact of all these things towards digitalization using this kind of processes is leading to a cloud platform approach. So using the cloud is the most obvious choice. No? And that's, in fact, what the automotive industry is doing. They are moving toward the concept of platforms. So they are designing design platforms, industrial platform, connected car platform, customer experience platform. All these things are typically founded on sound, robust, and specialized cloud platform. Uh, just to make an example, let me spend a few words about a particular topic that is high performance computing. So, as we know, high performance computing play a fundamental role in the automotive industry, not only in the research and development, so to run complex simulation tasks like crash testing simulation or fluidodynamic simulation and so on, to accelerate the go-to-market for the new models, but also in vehicle operation. So if we consider the need for fast computations, for instance, for autonomous driving, for data connection, collection, and so on. So there is a lot of sense to move this high performance computing on cloud
Hmm.
to provide the needed capability, the needed scalability, and also the elasticity that on-prem solution cannot offer. And of course, HPC on cloud need to have similar or even better performances that on-prem solution. And by the way, we are very active on that with a cloud offering for high performance computing that has been adopted by several leading automotive OEMs. Just to make one name, Nissan is one of them.
Very good. So definitely a move towards these digital platforms is becoming a big trend. So how is this helping manufacturers though to meet some of the challenges in the industry?
So, Bernard, automotive manufacturing and suppliers, I think, are still in the middle of their transformation journey. You know, someone is progressing faster, other plodding on amidst the uncertainty in their objectives and initiatives, I think. So, winner will emerge quite soon, and I think we can expect some news and surprises from the market scenario. But I think that those that will be able to better understand the implication of the transformation, their transformation into software and tech companies and service and mobility providers are in the better shape to survive and prosper. So for me, that means adopting effective cloud-based solutions we've seen before for scalability, agility, innovation, and so on, and to leverage the power of data through artificial intelligence. Here,
Mm.
the role of the artificial intelligence in anything. So, and in my humble opinion, the best approach for them is joining effort and finding a real collaboration opportunity with those tech vendors and software vendors like us that understand their industry and they can provide a state-of-the-art cloud infrastructure, technology, and applications.
Very good. So, looking ahead then, with all of these changes already taking place, what are your predictions for the future of the automotive industry? And are there any trends and developments that you would like to highlight, that you are excited about and you feel need to be on the radar of all auto companies?
I am not the right person to make prediction for the future of the automotive industry. However, there are a couple of key points that I wish to highlight. Yes. So the first point is about the need and at the same time the opportunity to leverage data. So it is easy to say that data is the new oil for the automotive industry. We know that digital service, that is a forecast, digital service should account for 1/3 of the total revenues of the automotive industry by 2030. That is about $1.5 trillion. However, getting that value from the huge amount of available data from multiple sources is not easy. Indeed, the automotive OEMs are struggling today to provide service that people would pay for. So there is a problem for monetization of those data. And I see three main challenges about that. So the first one is how to transform data into information. So vehicles are producing huge amount of data, huge volumes of data as connected car, and increasingly from all the sensor that will enable different levels of autonomous capability, or also from electric vehicles when they are connected and interacting with the energy networks. And a great deal of manufacturing data are also available from the production plant through the equipment that is IoT connected, IoT enabled, and so on. And other information coming from modern social media, from sales and marketing system, from the digital behaviors of customers and drivers and so on. But all that huge amount of data need to be ingested, consolidated, and correlated with intelligence inference capability in order to transform that into focused, personalized, actionable information that can really provide value. That is the basis for the second point, which is monetize the information through valuable services. So all the information of this focused and personalized information can allow the creation of really added value services. So services that the customer and driver would pay for. For instance, personal service, facilitating personal life, or valuable, really valuable connected car service, not the usual ones that today are considered as a commodity and no one would pay for, or service that can allow to maximize other revenue streams, like for instance, supporting sales activities or support activities, service with focus and recommendations. We said before, the next best selection, the next best service action, or the energy transaction of the electric vehicles.
Mm.
And the final point is about servitization. So as in many other product contexts, also the automotive industry is experiencing a trend towards an ownership model which is an alternative to buy an old car. For instance, long-term leasing, but also subscription-based usage of car or car sharing. So these new businesses model are enabled by the availability of the proper data. So you need to know the usage information, malfunctioning, so the actual or predicted issues, and be supported by specialized business application, for instance, for managing the subscription, managing the recurrent billing, revenue management, and so on. So once again, let me say that I think that we as Oracle can play a role, a fundamental role to manage, storage, correlate, analyze, and usage and leverage data. That is something that we have in our DNA, but also to support all the related new business applications. So, and an important role can be played by the new generation of the Oracle Cloud infrastructure that is characterized by performances, robustness, strong security and privacy option. And we are continuously growing adding new data center in regions and countries, so to grant also that data sovereignty that is required by most regulation. And okay, if I have time, I wish also to point out another point that is related to the need to cope with fast and dramatic changes in processes. So the new products, production processes, supplies, the service, everything, are not only transformation that the automotive industry have to face per se. So these transformations are also disruptive, so they can disrupt other business processes. For instance, the impact of the microchip shortage that is, of course, induced by the unexpected surge in demand due to the pandemic, but also to errors sometimes in planning the needed quantity of the electronic components by main OEM. So they were used to manage their traditional supplies from a strong position that they cannot replicate now on the new set of providers. Or consider also all the emphasis now to improve sustainability, to reduce the carbon footprint of automotive company in all supply and manufacturing, distribution, operating processes, and everything to respond to the increasingly awareness in terms of environmental concern. So that was as a consequence of pandemic. So we need to react, prepare to react quickly to unforeseen situation that can completely upset an existing scenario. So, and that's something that we think can be managed coming to supporting application solution, the IT staff by cloud solutions, so IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. In fact, on-premise solution can take months or years to be implemented, and once they're implemented, they're difficult to modify and be updated. We all know. While cloud solution, on the contrary, comes with periodic release, we have quarterly release in Oracle case that includes not only fixes, but bug fixing, but also new functionality and capability that user can quickly decide to adopt. That is a way for continuous innovation. Just to make an example, Mazda or Alcar, a couple of companies that we mentioned, are saying us that they look at the quarterly new improvements that are delivered with the new version of every product to see if there is something among that can be immediately used to improve their solution.
Very good. Fantastic examples. I was just looking through the stream and there was a question there about how this digital revolution might impact smaller vendors in the automotive industry. Do you have any views on that? Because I guess in what I'm seeing is that this entire landscape in the manufacturing of automotives is changing completely. That there used to be massive players in that market that almost had a monopoly to some extent. Nowadays, through the digital transformation, we're seeing many more smaller vendors coming out, which are quite often completely digitally native, very different. So, have you got any views on that?
That's exactly what they think. So newcomers or small vendors are, let's say, in a better situation than larger
Mhm.
manufacturers. No, in that sense, so they can, let's say, if they are new, they can build from scratch. They can let's say, the digitalization from the very beginning. They do not have to transform, and they are also more agile in terms of organization to address that. No, but that is true for also established small company that are facing the same problems of large companies. So even if you are a small company, your market is the world. Even if you are producing in small quantities, something that you have to manage, let's say, as a paradox, you have the same problems with a lower budget, and so you need to be efficient in that.
I agree. So finally, what do you see are the wider implications for the manufacturing world as a whole? Will they simply follow along the same path as automotive manufacturers, or are there any other aspects that you would highlight? What would you what would be your key recommendations for anyone in manufacturing?
My recommendation is to look at the transformation for automotive because the problems, all the issues that the automotive OEMs are facing and suppliers are facing today are just, in my opinion, an example of what other manufacturing will have to face sooner or later. So, and the same trends are for them. So the software and electronic contents of most industrial products, is rapidly decreasing. Manufacturing so should be prepared to face the same challenges. So to manage software at scale, to have a different approach to product life cycle, for instance, considering over the date of their software, or to consider software-enabled capabilities. So, and also most industrial products are moving towards new ownership models, we say, on a service-based approach, sometimes through subscription. So just to make an example, there is, companies are selling Rolls-Royce models, are selling flying hours rather than jet engines, or there are, let's say, producers or wind turbines that are selling are beaming through the generative power rather than selling the wind turbine themselves. So in any case, most manufacturing are looking for ways to create this new service-based revenue stream, which can be, let's say, managed together with the traditional one, but I think that will increase their importance in time. So new service-based revenue stream will increase their importance for this company. So all manufacturing in all sectors, in my opinion, should consider how to increase their agility in their business process and how to react to these changes and even disruptions from the evolution of their core product that could impact their supply chain, raw materials, suppliers, and so on. So they need
Fascinating.
to learn from the automotive industry, definitely.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I can't think of any manufacturing industry that wouldn't go through the same transformations, because the same forces that are underpinning lots of the changes that we are talking about here today will drive the same change in every manufacturing environment. So that was
Yeah, I agree.
super fascinating. I think we need to dive into this in more detail in the future, because there are so many other things that we can explore. I think every single challenge that we talked about, the digitization of the car,
Anything will
the
deserve a specific session and even more than one.
absolutely, absolutely. So I thank you very much for joining me today, Nello. That was super fascinating. So many really great examples. Anyone who wants to rewatch or re-listen to this, you can always head to my YouTube channel, where you can find this conversation, as well as many hundred other conversations with some amazing people on super interesting topics on future trends. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening. As always, let me know what you think of the session, and let me know if you have any more questions or comments. Great. Thank you very much, Nello.
Thank you very much, Bernard. It was a pleasure, and thank you all.